Stage 6 load shedding has hit you again this afternoon, but it's now continuous. In other words, it's being implemented until further notice. Do you want to know why? Eskom says 11 generating units have broken down at Camden, Duva, Grootvlei, Hendrina, Kendal, and then 2 units each at Kriel, Majuba and the Matla power stations. Eskom says Stage 6 load shedding is now underway and being implemented, but will continue until they announce any changes. It's appealing to you to use electricity sparingly if you have it. Well, one of the reasons behind this is the fact that the nuclear power station, one of the units there, is now being refurbished. Eskom scrambling to fix 2 of those units to avert an even deeper crisis. Fanele Mondi is the CEO of the Energy Intensive Users Group in Southern Africa. Fanele, good afternoon to you and thank you for your time. Firstly, Stage 6 load shedding indefinitely. What impact is that going to have on your members?
Good afternoon, Stephen, and your viewership. Stage 6 is quite a terrible cut in terms of the power reduction. The impact to our members at this point is not direct because our members are subjected to a different cut, which is referred to as load curtailment. Load curtailment, basically, it has different stages as well, just as load shedding, where, for instance, the typical highest load is stage 4, where members are required to cut 20% of their production for the duration of the declared period. So at this stage, no load curtailment has been effected. However, those members who are not on the load curtailment program will definitely feel the impact of this high or deep level of load shedding.
Fanele, I don't want to misunderstand you. Are you suggesting that while people at home are living under Stage 6 load shedding, your members who use their electricity intensively are not under load curtailment?
What is controlling the load shedding and load curtailment is a standard which is under the auspices of NERSA, our regulator, where it differentiates between load shedding and load curtailment. What is happening is that for big customers, it is difficult to operate their plants on and off basis. For instance, if you say, for instance, in our case, as residential and most commercial users, we will have, say, around about 10 hours of cut, depending on where you are. It could be 2 hours multiplied by 5 times. These machines cannot tolerate that level of stress where you switch it on and off. So what happens is that you get declaration for what is called load curtailment, which is then sustained for a period of time, not just 2 hours or 3 hours as it may apply.
All right, I think I understand you now.
So the considerations are really about the safety of the people, because you've got people, some of them deep down in the belly of the earth, say 5 kilometers down the line. You cannot afford to take them up and down in that sense. So that is a practical matter, and so it applies in terms of the equipment that is being used.
All right, now I think I understand you. Thank you for the explanation, Fanele. You're particularly worried about Koeberg. One of its 2 units is being refurbished. It's around 800 megawatts, I understand, around 900. In other words, about 1 stage of load shedding. How important is it that this refurbishment happen exactly on schedule, that there are no delays?
Like you correctly indicate, Stephen, this unit, represent almost a stage of load shedding. It's actually 920 megawatts, so its impact is quite significant. In the last outage on the last unit, that unit, didn't do even the main scope of changing those steam generators, and it resulted in 2 months delay, which put even more pressure on the system, where you have 920 megawatts. And from a technical point of view, there is also challenges because Cape Town doesn't have enough generation capacity. So it is quite important to have those units operational, because if you have to transfer the load or the power from the northern side of the country down to the Cape, you make a lot of energy losses. So whatever that gets there is not what was actually dispatched, from the generating unit. So the impact therefore becomes even bigger than that 920 megawatts.
Sure. Some of your members now, I presume, are trying to produce their own electricity where they can after the reforms announced by the President last year. Is that viable for some of your members?
Can you please repeat the question? I didn't get it.
Some companies we know are now producing their own electricity through embedded generation after the reforms announced by the President last year. Is that viable for your members who use electricity intensively?
It is an option which we are exploring. Currently, as we speak, our members, they've got in the pipeline almost 4,000 megawatts of projects which are on the pipeline for the next 5 years or so. It is a viable option, but it is important to note that it is not enough to take any of our members off grid. Like you are indicating, is that we are intensive energy users and we are quite dependent on baseload capacity, which Eskom is probably the most suitable vehicle at this point to provide that. Most of these embedded generations, as you would know, they are mainly renewable energy, so we still remain dependent strongly on the base load which is supplied by Eskom.
Fanele Mondi, thank you, CEO of the Energy Intensive Users Group of Southern Africa.